announce that we have started. And let me double check if everything is working fine. Double check. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, fine. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Please say something. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
How are you doing?
Fine. 1, 2, 3, 1,
Maybe
2,
also 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Or
please say something. Okay, it
can do the prime numbers.
Yeah, true. Starting numbers for everything, yeah. Okay, it's working fine. Okay, let me sit into my original position here. Ladies and gentlemen, let us know if everything is working fine on your ends too. There is no lag, there is no video or audio quality issue or any problems. Please let me know. Hölgyek, urak, bármi van, szóljatok, és hogyha kezdhetünk, tudassátok velünk, let us know. Like always, ladies and gentlemen, you will be able to ask questions at the end or near the end of the interview. So let us know if we can start. Let us know. Hölgyek, urak, kezdhetünk? Történés van? Oh, okay. Let me double check. Just one more time and then we can start. Then we can start. Oh, it's working fine. Nice. Okay, dear Xander, let me know if we can start. Let me know.
I'm ready to go.
Okay, welcome everyone in the very new episode of my Dev Live show. Today I'm joined with Xander Vanhove. I hope that I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Please let me know if not. And he's the creator of the game Korya. He also worked on other video games. And I would like to say that I'm very thankful and very honored that you joined us for today's episode. Like I'm always saying, let's start with a little bit of introduction. So please introduce yourself for us.
Right. Thanks for the warm welcome. So my name is Sander Vanhove. I live in Brussels and I'm the lead developer at Studio Tolima, which is a little studio in Brussels that makes games with Godot. And it's actually our first game that we're working on, which is called Koira. And this game is a poetic narrative adventure game where you meet a little puppy in the forest and then you go on all these kinds of adventures together.
I see. So my very first question would be, what was your very first contact with video games as a player, if you remember those times of your past?
Oh, wow. That's a good question.
Thank you.
So if I think back, I think it was my bigger brother who had like an original Game Boy, you know, like these bricks.
I have a huge collection of those. Yeah, I started to recollect Game Boy Advance SP games actually like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So he bought like a secondhand one of those, and then I think it was with Pokemon Yellow or something.
Okay.
We're not old enough to be of the generation that's really grew up with Pokemon Yellow, but it was cheap back then. We got like these things secondhand. So, but it was that was my first contact with games and gaming. Back then, like I had no English knowledge, and this game was only in English, so I was mostly just bumbling around, stumbling, and like learning as you go, like a little bit like the Metroid Brainias, where you have to like learn the knowledge of the game, but then just because I couldn't speak the language, it was something like this.
I see. What was the transition time or the click, the light bulb moment in your head when you realized that, okay, I love playing video games, but I also would like to work on video games as well as a creator of these games?
Yeah. So that came pretty early as well. Like I think I was 10 or 11 when I realized there you could find Game Maker online, like Game Maker 1.
Okay.
I don't know which version it was. Like it was not. Like it was a very easy way to make games, and you had a lot of tutorials. And so I would follow the tutorials, make these little games with a tank. You could like go through a maze, have some little enemies. Like that was the first time that I actually created video games.
I see.
And then all like during my high school years, I would make games on my graphical calculator, because at some point,
Okay.
like when you're 15, you get this graphical calculator, right, to do graphs and stuff. And I would just spend the whole math class creating little video games on them, and then you can send them using a cable to your friends. So after class, I would send like the newest update to all my friends.
Nice.
Yeah. And my math teacher thought I was a very, very good student, always calculating stuff.
You were making additional homework for yourself, right?
Yes, exactly. Well, the good thing was that I was pretty good at math, so I didn't
I
need to
see.
pay attention. But
I see.
yeah, it was.
I see. So more
Yeah.
personal question from me would be: were your family members, parents, and close friends supportive, by the way, about this decision that you're pursuing this dream of making video games? And since you loved making them from a very early age, like you told us.
Yeah, for sure. Like my parents were very, like especially my parents were very supportive to get me into programming. So
I
they
see.
would buy me programming books
I
and
see.
make sure I would go to programming schools and stuff like this. I think they were a little more strict on gaming itself and like making video games. I think they accepted that more and more when I got older. But now they think it's very cool that I make video games and make something people can play with instead of corporate software.
I see. Do you think, by the way, for you, it is important to have a mentally supportive background in your life in order to be able to make these steps to work on video games?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think that's a good question.
Thank you.
For me, it was like it was the case,
I see.
and so it helped in like feeling secure in the decisions I made.
I see.
But yeah, I think it's very important to have something like this. Yeah.
I see. You also mentioned studying programming. So do you believe that for you it is better to study programming and everything that goes with the video game industry and video game development via a tutor or a mentor, or alone by the help of books and the internet? Which would you choose if you would have to? Or which
if I have to
helps you
redo it
more?
again? I think one of the most important things for a game developer is that you need to draw. Well, let's say if you do indie game development like
Okay.
I do, where you have a little more input on the whole game design. Like as a game developer, you need to have strong interests and like be able to pour those interests in your game.
I
And
see.
for me, one of these strong interests is, of course, programming. Like I really love programming in general. I also do web design. I do other kinds of development. And so for me, the technical part is an interesting part to work through, and so I can pour this into my games. But I don't think that this passion should necessarily be programming. Like if I work in a co-working space, especially for independent game developers. So there's only game developers around me, and there's different companies. And if I go around, then there is maybe out of the 30 people, there's maybe 3 or 4 people who actually know, like, did programming in school, in high school, or in university, and the rest are like architects or philosophers or artists or physicists, like all these random kinds of they come from all these different paths of life and domains, and I think that adds a lot of personality to your game, where you can be in a like unique. And I don't think that necessarily having this this background of programming is that important, as long as you are willing to take that with you on your journey making the game.
I see. You mentioned at our conversation before our interview that you haven't joined the team from day one, right? Is that correct? If I'm understanding it correctly, right? So you joined it a bit later. How it was? So how did it happen in your life that you realized that they are making this game and you would like to join them? What's the story behind that?
It was kind of the planets were aligning for me. Like I was not working in games. I was working in as a data scientist in another company, and I was making little games on my own, like jam games. I would go to events here in Belgium where I live, and get in touch with other game developers, but I was not necessarily looking for a job. Also because at the time, like I was using Godot, the Godot game engine, which was at that point not really used for commercial games. Like it was mostly a hobby project game engine. And so at some point, I somewhere joined a Slack channel, and somebody posted, like not even the owner of the company, like Ben, he did, like somebody else posted like, oh, they're looking for a Godot game developer there. And for me, it was like, oh, that's weird. Like, I'll have to check it out. And so I asked Ben, the owner of the founder of the company, like what's this project about? He gave me a key, so I could play the demo, and I played it. And for me, that was like the exact game I wanted to work on, like a more emotionally charged, a bit like Gris from Nomada Studios, a little bit like. Florence or like Journey, like all these more emotionally focused games. And so I was like, okay, this is ideal. So it is in Godot. It is the kind of game I want to make. The only problem was it was in another city, because I lived in another city back then. But yeah, when I realized that all of this, like the planets were aligning, I was like, I'm gonna move. I'm gonna move to Brussels. It's going to be the best. And to be honest, it's been a great journey, because Brussels has a very tight game development community with the co-working I mentioned. They have monthly events, they have big events, small events. Like it's very lively for indie game development. Yeah.
I see. You mentioned that you haven't started like working for other companies before you joined this company, but you were working on your very own smaller games, and you were working in a very different territory than video game industry. What could cause the effect that you haven't made the first step earlier in order to like work on video games on in a bigger scale, right? So, or joining other companies.
Yeah. So the thing for me was like I always loved making video games. For me, it was always something that was a little out of reach, like something I didn't really consider as a job opportunity.
I see.
I thought it was mostly like big studios or people who did on their own, like in their basement, until they got so famous and so successful that they could sustain themselves.
I see.
So I didn't really consider the option, like the in-between option of joining a smaller studio. And that changed after, at that point that I saw this Slack message, and I was like, hey, maybe this could actually be a thing, something I can do. Yeah.
I see. Was it, by the way, a scary move to take, or a scary step to take when you first read the message and you decided to do it?
Of course, and it's still kind of scary, right? Because we're now working on our first game. It's like the studio was founded around the project, around Koira that we're working on, which means that if Koira now doesn't do well, then it might be the end of the studio, or it might be that the studio sizes down even more, which means that it's just Ben, just the owner, staying in the company. But that's, of course, that's part of it, right?
True.
Every game development, if you do it like an indie game development, is kind of a gamble or kind of a...
True.
Yeah.
Especially because there are so many games coming out now, and it's very hard to compete for people's attention, right? Even if you don't want to compete, like it's not a competition, but you have to, right? So in order to gain more attention, gain more people who buy your game. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Do you know, by the way, which came first? So the story, the art design, or the theme of the game, or the gameplay aspects of the game? Do you know something about it?
Yes. So the first thing that Ben did was make little animations. So what he first did was try out different art styles, put up Instagram posts with GIFs, and just show like, here's an art style that might be a game, might not be a game, and then look at which ones were connecting the most with people, and also which ones were the easiest to work on. Because if you look at Koira, if you look at the characters, they're just these black silhouettes, which make it very easy to animate. If you look at the main character, the player, the head and the body and the hands are separate. which makes it very easy to animate, like do a new hand animation and leave the body and the head animation the same.
Reattach it, yeah.
Yeah.
I see. I see. It really
So it was
reminded
born.
me to Haunty, by the way. Sorry for interrupting you. If you know that game too, yeah.
Yeah, we hear that reference a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was born out of doing these art tests on Instagram, plus like being restrictive, being like, okay, I'm one person. Like, how can I make the animation as easy as possible?
I see.
And so once he had just like the dog and the player character that were walking on a white screen, it looked like a snowy field. So it just added one tree and one bush, and it started feeling like a forest. And so by doing this, he started to build the atmosphere, and then he started to think of what could the story be around these two characters in a snowy forest.
I see. What was the influence, by the way, behind the story of Koira? If you can speak about that too, if you are allowed to speak about that.
The influence of Koira, like the story, is a lot of things together. Like it's a lot of animation movies where things are not black and white but very gray, like a little bit like Princess Mononoke.
Okay.
Like Studio Ghibli movies. A lot of games that I've already mentioned, like Florence, Journey, indeed, Gris. So yeah, for the story itself, it came mostly from I don't know if I can tell too much about that, but it's the story itself is where you meet a little puppy in the forest. You save him basically from a trap, and then you become friends and you learn to work together to overcome obstacles. But there's also dangers in the forest. So there is this it's a cozy, wholesome game, but it's also meant to be a little bit dark and mysterious. And there is these hunters who try to get your dog from you, which are very, they bring a little bit of an edgy vibe as well.
I see. Going back to those games, by the way, from the collection that you have made, to those personal projects, which is your favorite one that you have made so far from that collection of games that you made alone? And why?
So there is this game called Taart.
Okay.
Which taart is a Dutch word which means cake.
Okay.
And the game is basically you carry a cake and you have to make sure that nobody gets the cake while you're carrying it. So you have to just slap their hands.
You want it for yourself, right?
No. So at the end of the game, the goal is actually to get to the end with only one piece. So that you shared with everyone and you have a piece for yourself.
Oh, okay. I see.
And it's a very small jam game that we did for the Global Game Jam. And I was paired with somebody who never made a game. And she was an artist who only worked on physical media. So she did all the art with aquarelle, so with painting.
Okay.
Nice. And this was a lot of fun to make. Now there are also like other games that are like more emotionally meaning for me, because for me, like doing these little jam games are also a way to express myself in an emotional way. And some of these are like, they're very like, I'm not gonna tell what the game is about. I'm just making the game and putting it out there, and then people can interpret it as they want. And just seeing the comments under the games, like how people perceive what the game is about, is just for me an amazing experience to see that other people have their interpretations. And for me, every interpretation of a piece of art or a game is very valid, because that's the meaning of art for me. It's like people communicate through each other, but they see different things in this communication.
True. Speaking of this topic, by the way, I believe that there is, like you mentioned, and it's very true, and I agree with you, there is always a message that creators want to give through the form of art. But do you believe that those who consume this message, people who, for example, play video games, do you believe that there is a small percentage of people who will totally understand the exact message, that the creator had in his or her back of their minds when making this piece of art? Because I believe so, and I had this argument back in high school with my literature teacher, but she told us that people will never understand the exact message, but I see it differently, because I feel like if there's always a connection between like the consumer and the creator of the forms of art, because if you had the same like lifestyle or issues in life that the creator had, you could probably understand it's totally right. So if, for example, if it's a love poem, right, and you're reading it, people can read it differently. I always name this example that there will be people who will understand the love poem like it's a very positive and, you know, very cherished and happy ending love poem. But those people who suffered in their relationship, they will probably understand it like a very sad poem, love poem, you know. But those who were in the same shoes as the creator, they might understand totally perfectly for 100% what the creator wanted to have with his message or her message. Do you think that? Do you believe in this statement of mine, or you can see it very differently?
That's I think I do, but
Okay.
this also brings like imagine this, like imagine you have the perfect target audience.
Okay.
Imagine it's you right before you start the creation of your thing. Like the moment you thought of the thing, that's the point where we cut off, and that's you, the perfect audience for interpreting the game, or that should be, right?
Sure.
So would this past version of you draw the right conclusions from your work, from your current work? I think that's an interesting thought process to go through. I think.
True. Yeah, but that's why I was saying that in my beliefs, or I believe so, that when creators are making these messages, they are not constantly thinking of that, hey, I want to put this exact message into the game, right? Or into a painting or into a book, but they have something, a theme of the core message that they want to put it there, since they, I don't know, had been losing somebody they loved, or they had, I don't know, go through a very bad situation in their life. And I think that these exact situations cannot be avoided, that there will be people in other regions who might suffer the same issues in their life, or had very happy moments in their life as a creator, right? So I think that's why it's like math, that you can pair very similar formulas together because they are similar, right? So it's, I think that's the same thing about like having very similar themed actions or happenings in our life, that we can connect with each other through the forms of art.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's also like you'll have these people who can interpret it, but for them it will also, like, next to just being like, I recognize the situation and I can totally see why this is the case. I think for them it can also be a way of showing that feeling these emotions is valid in these situations, because sometimes, like, there is a lot of like, not pushing, but like, people always have to be happy, people always have to be like nice or whatever,
like that mask
but
that they have to wear, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if you play something, like, you consume a piece of media where you see like, oh, it is okay to be sad in this situation, or it is okay to feel this emotion. I think it's very, very powerful as well to show that through different media, because a lot of video games are just masculine power fantasies, and I think we should try to normalize the more emotional side as well.
True, very true. But like you said, people are scared to have these emotions around others, right? And that's why they wear a mask. And that's why if they see in video games that you can be emotional, they will probably start to be afraid even more. Some of them, at least, and that's sad. Yeah.
Okay, you think so? People would.
Yeah, I think so, because the best example probably I always name is the Last of Us series. I feel like it was a very straight message to people how they can act in such situation that the team brought to the table with those games, those two sequels. And I feel like those people who did not like the story of the game, I talked to a lot of them who did not like it. And I felt like from those conversations I had with the people who did not like the story part of the game, I felt like they were looking into a mirror when they played that game. And if you are spoken that you are like a bad person in your life, because you would take the same actions in such situations. It hurts you, right? So it's like the game saying you that you're a bad person or you would
Yeah.
be a bad person, and it does. So this game, The Last of Us Part 1 and second part, does that, because it really shows that, hey, you might be the same, dickhead in this situation, and people don't like it, right? So don't like it to be criticized. And I felt like what you said is very true, that these games should be out there, because you have to like show that, yes, it's humanity, it's how we work. It's not just like you said, it's we are happy and everything is fine. We have to like teach ourselves to be better, and to express ourselves and work on ourselves. So yeah.
Exactly. Yes. True.
Yeah. Okay. Which would you choose, by the way? Which is more close to you, programming or emotional storytelling? Because from our speech now, our conversation, I can tell that both are very important to you. Not just programming, but emotional storytelling as well, and expressing your feelings, your past, what you have experienced through life. But which is more close to you when you are developing a game?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's
Thank you.
both are very important. Like the thing is, when I start to make a game, I always start with an atmosphere. I try to capture the atmosphere of the game, and then I build on that to see where the atmosphere wants to go. Like the normal saying is like follow the fun, but of course not every game has to be fun. So it's just follow the atmosphere, follow the core emotions of the game, like follow the experience that you want to portray with the game. And I think for me the technical part mostly like tacks onto that, like which means like I know how to do things. Like I don't shy away from challenges. Like I'm happy to think about hard problems to solve. But also like I do projects where I just try to do like a technical I think of something technical that I've never seen done, and then I try it out. I see how that goes. Most of the times these don't really get into like they don't transform into a released game because they're just not often not complete enough. Like it's good to have this research and have it in the back of your mind that one day if you're like, oh, okay, I want to convey this kind of experience, like the experience of doing a snowball fight, then I know I have this technology that I once tried and it works. It kind of felt like that actually, and I can like apply it in this situation.
I see. Do you always save these like experiences in your back of your mind in order to have them for the future? Have they been lost somewhere sometimes that you couldn't
Sometimes they get lost.
I see.
But I do have like a bunch of projects, and when I think like, oh, I can use this, then I open up the project again. I look at the code. I copy paste whatever I need, and I can get going quickly.
I see. To my best knowledge, by the way, you're writing a book as well, right? Is that correct?
The book is out.
The book is out. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. What made you, by the way, write that book? What was the influence behind writing this book? Because it's about Godot, right? If I'm understanding it correctly.
So I was very vocal on Twitter and Instagram back then. So this was already a few years ago. Then the publisher contacted me of like, do you want to do a book? And then I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. I love books. Let's write a book. So I wrote the book in about a year. And so it came out a little under a year ago, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. We talked about this topic before, by the way. I believe that all of us creators who create our own craft, we always intend to put our own experience and messages into the craft we make. Even if it's about experiencing loss or love or any positive, negative situations from our past. Is this statement of mine true for your work as you work as a video game developer? And if your answer is yes, which is probably will be yes, because we talked about this before, what examples could you name, could you bring us to the table?
Yeah, for sure. I think like every game developer brings their experiences to any game they
Okay.
make. Um, this could be as simple as just like interpreting certain systems. For example, if I've always had consoles laying around at home and I always played console games and I have to make a game, then it's probably the first kind of controls I'll implement is maybe controller
I
support
see,
instead
I
of
see, I see,
keyboard
I see,
support, right?
I see, I
It
see.
could be as simple as this kind of uh, base knowledge of what is a game. Um, and this interpretation can always like extend to more emotional things as well, where it's way more it's more gray areas than black and white areas.
I see.
So I think yes, there is. You always take uh, your worldview into your games, and I think this is a very good thing because a game always has to be a very complete package, and you need to make everything in your game for a reason. Um, Even if this reason is never revealed to the player, for you it should have a reason to exist there and why it looks like this, why it acts like this, why it is there in the first place, so that it feels like something cohesive and
True,
complete.
true, true.
Um, and yeah, I think for examples in my games, I think. Uh, I think one of the big ones that I really like is I think the mouse as an input is very underused
Okay, okay.
because the mouse is one of the most direct ways that people interact with their computer.
True.
A keyboard is like very it's you press a button, you don't press a button, while with the mouse you move your whole arm, and this arm movement reflects in like this pointer going somewhere on the screen. But you could actually like what I did in a bunch of my own games is map this to an arm, to an actual arm moving on the screen,
Okay.
right? And all of a sudden you have this one-to-one mapping almost of the player moves their arm. Okay, then the arm on the screen follows. And like I like to try to make these things so immersive that you are the arm, right? This is your arm. Or this is like an extension of yourself. Well, if you press a button, it's harder to feel like this input is an extension
True,
of yourself.
true, true, true. It's more responsive if you do that, what you're doing in game, right? True, true, very true. And I appreciate that because I feel like a lot of games nowadays should be more responsive to the player's act. Especially like I feel like it's true for multiplayer games as well, not just story games, especially for multiplayer games, because sometimes you are feeling like you're not have a total control over your character or over your actions. So yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. What was your favorite part, by the way, of working on Korea so far, or parts if there are more?
Mm. I think like getting the dog AI to be dynamic,
Okay.
because we wanted to make the dog, which is also a very challenging part, right? Like the dog, we want the dog to be a dog, which means multiple things. That means, for one, that it's not just an extension of the player. It's not because
I see.
the dog is always there, that the dog is an extension of you, and you can just like in a lot of games, you press a button and the dog does something for you. We didn't want that. We wanted the dog to have like kind of a mind of its own. But we also didn't want the dog to be just aesthetic,
I see.
where in a lot of games the dog just follows you a little bit like Pikachu in Pokemon Yellow, um, or Pokemon's following you in other Pokemon games. Like we wanted the dog to both be helpful but not a direct like extension of the player,
I see.
and have this mind of his own. And that took a lot of iteration and a lot of um, work to get right. But it was a lot of fun to see it evolve and see people interact with the dog, like pet him and then see how he interacts. Yeah.
I see. I see. You mentioned your favorite part, but what about the hardest part or parts of the process of making Korea? So, what was the very or most difficult challenge in the process so far?
Oh yeah, like one of the most difficult parts of Koira is that there's no text in the whole game.
Okay.
The only point you see text is in the menus, like in when you go to the settings menu, and for the rest there's no text. And this is a nice constraint to have because it means that the player is more immersed. The player has more like everything is conveyed through the music and the emotional like ups and downs through the animation, through the art. But it also means that you cannot explain anything to the player without like making it or super easy or like showing like icons on the screen, which we also didn't want. We didn't want to show. We want like minimum UI as well.
See.
And doing that right is not just like a technical problem. That's really a design problem where you need to iterate, and try to see what's the most clearest for players. Like one of the things I remember the most vividly was at the start of the game we showed like which buttons to use to move, and so we showed like a controller on screen, and we showed like the joystick rotating to say like you can use the joystick, and what players would do is they would mimic exactly the rotation of the joystick.
Oh,
Like
I see.
this. And then they would look at us because we would like test sometimes in real life. They would look at us and they're like, nothing is happening. Like, no.
That's
And
not
so
what we wanted to say, right?
exactly. And so something as basic as this could fail in like conveying a message of like just use this stick to move, and people wouldn't get it. And it's like, how then do you convey like use the joystick to move? So it really takes you back to very, very basic stuff sometimes. And yeah, that's
And the fact
it's not
is
easy.
true. And to add to this topic, that you cannot like rely on the fact that most people had hold a controller in their hands, so they might know what's the common inputs for games, right? So you can't even rely on that because like there might be gamers.
You don't know your audience. You don't know like
true.
how well read they are in games.
True, very true. Was there anything, by the way, cut out from the project so far? And if yes, was there anything that you could add back in the process of making Koira so far?
Anything cut out of the process? There is a lot of things that were cut out of the game.
Okay.
And mostly it was around, like I said, like how do we, which mechanics are clear enough that we can use as they are, but also around the dog, like how do we use the dog properly?
I see.
Like at some point you could actually directly control the dog and say like, you dog go there and do this action for me and then come back or something like this. And it just it didn't convey what we wanted to tell. It didn't convey the fact that the dog is this companion that you learn to know and that you learn to work together with. And so that whole part got cut, even though we prototyped a lot of different mechanics on how to do this. Like all of them got cut, and now the dog kind of helps you out more dynamically from its own.
I see.
What got re-added? I think we always like kind of circled around the same ideas. Like if we had things that we cut, it was mostly cut, and then something very similar was added just to compensate for this cut. Like the base design, let's stay the same. Like we wanted the dog to help you out, but what does helping you out mean? That kind of changed, and then you have to cut or change mechanics as you go to discover what this actually means.
I see. Going back to those games that you worked as personal projects, how hard for you or easy for you it is to leave a past project behind and move to another project? Or you never left your past project behind and you always thought about them in your future life as well? Very easy? Okay.
No, very easy. Like I did a lot of game jams.
Okay.
And I did most of my game jams. I did alone because then you have the most creative freedom. But sometimes I would do it in a team, and then at the end, the team would always be like, "Oh, this project is so cool. We're gonna work on this more, and we're gonna do more of it." And every time I was like, "No, we're not." Like I don't believe. Like I give you the code. Like you can do anything with it you want. I give you permission. I'm gonna step out here, and then you would see like the chat die out within a week and they would never retake it. I strongly believe in starting new projects, trying something new, like do something from A to Z, release it, and make sure that people can play it. But don't hang on to something too long. Like it's okay to go to something new because that's how you learn. And the more little projects you make, the more you learn, and at the end you can maybe do like a bigger project and something big where you combine all of your knowledge. But if you directly start with like making a 3-year game, like a game where you work an immense amount of time on, you won't learn that much. You won't learn like new stuff very much. So yeah, I believe in abandoning or just stopping working on projects because games and art in general is never done. Like it's just the artist stopping to work on it.
I see. I appreciate your honesty about this topic too. Thank you for that. Thank you. So, more personal question again would be: how have you changed as a person in other territories of your own life from being a game developer for so many years and now to?
Yeah, I think after doing a lot of game development, I believe that a lot of things are done with a reason.
Okay.
Like if you there's this joke, right, about where people on Twitter or Reddit would joke about, oh, the teacher asked us like to analyze this book, and there was a page where it said that the curtains are blue, and then we had to like tell why the curtains are blue, and this doesn't make any sense. The curtains are just blue because they're blue. And I don't think that's the case. Like I think, especially in a book, like if the writer mentions the curtains are blue and it doesn't add actual information to the story, then why not leave it out? This just means that this is a passage that brings no meaning. It's just there to bore or I don't know, do nothing for the reader. So I think all of these things that happen in games, that are placed in games, everything has a reason. And this, you can look at this like a lot further into like maybe company design or like building design or like any design, like any sort of structure. Like things are there for a reason.
Very true.
And I think like starting to think like this, I got also a lot more interested in philosophy and just all these other kinds of domains, like looking at different philosophers and seeing how they think, because yeah, they think about a lot of things in such a way that they analyze them very well, and that's I think what game designers in general do. Like they analyze things so hard that they can abstract them into this concept of a game, and then you can play this abstraction that the game designer made, because that's basically what a game is. It's an abstraction of something.
True, very true. And I feel like that's a huge problem nowadays that you mentioned, that a lot of people do not analyze anything or anyone, and they rather just, box everything into something, right? And box people or box ideas or box games into something. And they do not try to look behind the curtain or to understand why that curtain is blue, with your example. And it's very true, because I feel like it's a huge problem nowadays that people are not down to go to the roots of problems or issues or anything that is positive or negative, and they are not even trying to understand each other. That's how like most of the relationship are broken in very few years. And I think like I said, it's a problem, and people have to change on this in order to like understand not just others but themselves better, right? So it's about, the main focus would be to grow as a person in our life. Yeah.
I guess so, or just our relationship with media, different
True,
media.
true. Like the question what they read, right? Is that true or not? Is there an honest like article about something or not? Yeah. I just believe what they are seeing or reading on the internet, yeah. Or in the news. Yeah, yeah. Are there any changes, other changes in your life from being a game developer that you can mention or think of?
I think I also look at games in a different way. I think every game developer has this, right? Where earlier you saw like this sprawling world, this sprawling digital world that you could poke and or like that you could learn and live in. But now, especially as a programmer, I see a lot of systems working together. And I'm just like, how did they do this? And you try to poke the system and you're like, oh my God, it's so reactive. Or you're like, or on the opposite side, you could be disappointed. You could be like, oh my God, I see such an easy way to extend this and like make this even better than it is. So yeah, for sure, it affected my way of playing video games sometimes.
I see. How do you manage, by the way, balancing your free time and your work time, working on games and
Yeah, so I'm employed, so I'm just basically on the clock, which doesn't mean that from time to time it could be over hours, but in general, I keep like game development during work hours. And since I work in games, like it depends. Like because in a small studio you always have different hats, right? And because we're just at the moment we're two people. So while we were doing like heavy development on Koira, I didn't do a lot of other games on my free time because I had the feeling like the itch was scratched. I felt satisfied in making games on a daily basis. While now at the moment, like the game is done. We're gonna release in a month. And I feel like I'm not doing enough game development at the moment. So I feel more inclined to make games in my free time, like doing more these little projects. So yeah, it depends. Like if I do a lot of game development in my work time, I don't do it a lot in my free time, and vice versa. Like now I do a lot of marketing, for example, for the game, and so in my free time I can I have more motivation to actually do game development myself. Yeah.
I see. Speaking of working in a team, by the way, a question goes from this topic. Do you believe in perfect synergy between team members, or is it something that develops out through the project and working on the project together for so many years?
Yeah, I think there is for sure something about hiring the right people and getting the right people on board who who are very aligned on the project.
Okay.
For example, there are these personality tests online, and at some point in our development, we thought it was funny for everyone to do these personality tests and see what our scores were, like convey them, or like just like share them under each other.
I see.
And we saw that we were all kind of the same, like very close in personality types, which probably helps a lot in like having the same kind of communication, having the same kind of working. On the other hand, there's also something to be said about having a diverse team with different profiles. But I do believe that it's a good idea to already have kind of similar profiles and people who can work together. And then over the project, we did look a lot on how to work together. Like there were at the start, we did a lot of different structures, different ways of working in a team. Organizing our week, which kind of meetings do we do throughout the week. And I think at the end of the production, like after a year, I think we got it pretty right, and we really started to work together as a very good team. Even though we were already we were good profiles to work together, it still took a year to really get going and know what's expected of each other, how to communicate to each other, how to structure our weeks and stuff like this. I think it can take time. And I think that's also, if you have like a studio that's a little bit older and it's already worked through this, I think this is a big asset that will make development easier. Yeah.
I see. I see. Since the release, by the way, is very close, my question, since I love physical editions of video games, are you guys planning to have a physical edition of your game too in the future, maybe, or there are no plans so far for
No,
this?
unfortunately, like it's a small indie game, so
I see. I see.
it
I see.
would be awesome.
Yeah, it would be. Yeah.
But unfortunately, it will probably have to wait until it's so successful that people
I
want to
see.
do physical releases. Yeah.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
What about your future, by the way? Are you planning to work on some personal projects again that you would like to release in the future? Oh, sorry. Uh, okay.
Mhm.
Sorry for this.
No
Sorry,
problem.
sorry, 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 sorry. I usually never like use my phone, so I'm a very old school person. But I forgot to turn off my phone. That shows how how often I use my phone. So yeah,
That's yeah.
yeah.
That's some
I mainly
discipline.
use the internet for communicating with people. So yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
So you were asking about
Yeah. So
the future,
yes?
basically.
What are your
So
plans for the future? Yeah.
for now, the first thing we want to do. So I'm still in the company, of course. The first thing we want to do, we're two people, is look at what the release will do.
Okay.
If it's a huge success, easy. We can take our time to prototype things. We can assemble a new team, or better yet, assemble the old team, because the artists are still out there somewhere, so we can hire them back and work on the next project on our own time with our own budget without necessarily having to start with looking for a publisher. If that's not the case, then of course we have to, yeah, look for prototypes um, and start to look for funding. Now, luckily in Belgium, it's pretty easy to find funding, and there's a good system to do this. And from this funding, it could be prototype funding, it could be vertical slice funding, it could be real production funding. So there's different steps you can take here. But at some point, if really all the money runs out, then we'll have to go back to maybe working another job and then doing a different, like doing prototyping in our free time.
Let's see. Let's see.
But like for me, I don't have a game, like a personal game planned at the moment. No, I'm just doing like little prototypes, doing research internally to see what could be the next thing that we do.
I see. Could you imagine yourself, by the way, forming a team in the future, like making your very personal project in the future and forming a team around that project? It's like you mentioned in the past of our conversation that personal stories are very important for you to tell.
Yeah. That's a good question. I don't know. I think whenever I make a personal project, it's gonna be mostly me making most of like all of the things.
See, see.
Because then like it's the most coherent. But yeah, anything could happen. I don't know. It's also nice because the video game industry is such a hard industry to get into.
True.
It is nice to hire people and give them the chance to work on video games. But yeah, I don't know. For the studio, we do want to keep a small team. So it's now we are two people in the studio. But for sure, if we do a next project, we'll try to get other people on board. It's never going to explode to like 40, 50 people. But we do like to work with other people. And also, like having artists on your team can be so nice. Like you make something in code, you have your coder art to mock something in there, and then you see the artist coming with like their super awesome drawing, and you're like, amazing, this looks perfect.
I see. I believe, by the way, that in every territory in which people work, there is also always like an own style of the creator itself, even if it's about writing a story, coding and programming, or making the art pieces of the game. What is your own style, and when have you discovered it, if there is a style of yours that you can name?
I think there's kind of a combination of techniques that I love using and that come back in a lot of my games, both because I like them, how it looks, but also because they're like, for me, they're logical and easy to do. One of them is like, I like one screen games, which are just one screen and everything happens there.
I see.
Because it's very, very easy for the player to grasp. Like, you see all the information that you need. Then I like doing vector art, because vector art, for me as a programmer, is very logical. You just put points on a canvas. You can shape them. You can add them. There's Boolean addition or subtraction or things like this. It's like sculpting shapes. Like, for me, it's very, very logical. And then I like to add a lot of shaders. So noise, pixelation shaders, just anything that I think adds on to the game. And then, of course, the last thing is I like using the mouse in a novel way, because it's something underused, and
True.
Almost any game uses the mouse, but every game uses the mouse in the same way. While there's so much more that you can do with it.
Very true. Do you think that it can evolve? That people, more developers, will use the mouse for more features in the video games?
I think it needs to normalize, because you see a lot of people, they have a hard time because they know the mouse to aim with a first-person shooter. They know how to use WASD on a keyboard. They know how to use a mouse to interact with UI. But using the mouse that one-to-one maps to an arm, or that one-to-one maps to the position of a character, for them that's pretty novel, and so they have to like get their mindset in there. So I think to actually get there, that more and more game developers use the mouse, they actually have to know that this is an option, and that the players can use this, because there's so many things ingrained in us as gamers and as game developers you take for granted, that other people that are non-gamers would be like, why is this? Why is the color red always linked to health? Why is the color blue always linked to magic? Because if we see a bar that's red, we know, like, that's my health. But a non-gamer would look at this bar and be like,
why? Yeah.
What does this mean? What is this information on the screen?
True. And it's, again, cohesive knowledge, like we mentioned, that we as gamers, we all grew up on this knowledge and we share the same knowledge. So it's easy to build games around that knowledge, or on the top of that knowledge. Yeah.
Exactly. And also, like, something that I've found very interesting, like a few years ago, I made a puzzle game.
Okay.
And the puzzle game, I showed it at a convention, and there were different people playing it. And when I saw there was a very, very different way of playing for adults and for kids. Adults, they would go in, they would try something, they would try the same thing 10 times and be like, I don't get this game, I'm out. While if you see a kid play and they try 10 times, they try 10 different things. And at some point they'll do the right thing, and then they get it, and they experiment, they play, they do all these things. And for me, I really saw this, like, the malleability of, like, a kid's mind who just tries to poke at stuff and, like, try to learn it, while an adult has a preconceived concept of what they see, and they think this is it. And if it's not that, then they'll give up, and they'll be like, well, this game is not for me.
True. That's why I think that kids are way more open to video games than adults and grown-ups, because, like, it's not just true for video games like what you mentioned, and I totally agree with you on that, but it's true for our whole life and every territory of our own life, because like it's really about like adults are just like having this box of knowledge and they cannot think of that box, right? Or if they do, it's a hard time for them, for most of them, right? But for the kids it's easy because they are exploring with their mind, and the process is like closed around like 18 or 19 years old for most of the people, I would say. And it's sad because yeah, it's not just about video games but in every territory. And yeah, it's sad to see that more and more people are like boxing in their creativity. That's why I always say people would have to make video games, every one of us, right? And it would be the perfect way to learn how to be creative again. Yeah.
For sure. But I think it's something very human. Like
True.
you're getting older and getting more knowledge means being boxed in, right? There's less and less things you have to think about. Like you do these things automatically, and that's
true
because our brain tries to conserve energy, and you know how to go to your work or to your baker because you've done the route so many times that you don't think about it. So you're just there all of a sudden.
True.
But if you go to you have a new job, you go to a new work, all of a sudden you have to think about every step. You have to think like, which bus do I have to take? I have to change metros there and this and that, and it just takes a lot of more mental energy to go to that place.
True, very true. That's why people start to get scared about things, right, that you mentioned in the very beginning of our interview, or to show emotions, because it's also like a mental process of like getting over with it and to show our true colors.
Yeah, for sure. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Thank you, by the way. Before I ask some more questions, are you down to go into the chat questions, if there are any chat questions?
There's some chat questions.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, let us know if you have any questions. And again, sorry for my interrupting mobile sound. Let me share the game's Steam page too in the chat as well, because I shared it on my Discord, but let me do that here as well. Okay. Any question? Any question? Hölgyek, urak, bármilyen kérdés? Any question? Do you think, by the way, that now that you've worked in a team on other project, not just a personal project, you gain more confidence, by the way, on working for video games? Because like you mentioned that it was a scary decision for you to take the first move, right, when you started to speak about this. Do you think like you gain more confidence now that it will be your way to go in the future to work on video games again?
I think so. I think like at some point, like to a certain extent, yes. Just because I can show like I made a real, like I worked on a project that's a real commercial project with a nice sizable team. We had a big publisher, things like this. So yes, but on the other hand, it's always like imposter syndrome. For me, it always happens.
I see.
Yeah.
How do you deal with this, with the symptoms of? How do you
not well? No, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like sometimes I do talks on certain topics, on maybe working with Godot, or like I did the book, for example.
I see.
And then often it does, like the thought crosses my mind, like why me? Like there's so many good people working with Godot, for example, or just so many good game developers. But in the end, you just have to think like everyone has their place within the industry, or everyone has their place. It's like and everyone has their specialities and their views on the industry. So it's always interesting. And yeah, I think at some point you just have to fake it till you make it, and that's
true. Yeah, it's very true. Part. It's a very true quote. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Going back, by the way, to Koira, what do you think the ultimate message would be if you would happen to summarize the message that you and your team always wanted to give to the players, without spoilers, of course?
Without spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's mostly that life is very. It's not black and white, and it's more like these gray areas. Yeah, things are. Yeah, everything. Like I said also before, like everything has a reason to be, and even if that reason is not revealed to you, like it still exists somewhere in the mind of somebody. And of course, like in media, it's easy. You can show like this reason can be a part of your plot. It could be a plot twist. Like all of a sudden you know the reason. You're like, oh no, yeah, of course.
True.
And so that's also a part of Koira's plot. Like we try to show this, and I think for the other deeper reasons, you'll have to play the game and go through it yourself.
Nice. Okay. Going back to the topic, by the way, when we talked about like a lot of people are not brave enough to show their emotions or put those emotions into the piece of their art that they are making. What made you this person that you are now in order to have this very positive mentality to be able to put out your emotions into games and be very honest about these emotions as well? Was it something that you always had in yourself as a mentality, or is it something that you learned throughout the years from growing up?
I learned this throughout the years, yeah, because at first, like, it's mostly like sitting with an emotion and not knowing how to deal with it properly. And there's of course a lot of like a lot of things you can do. You can talk to people, you can go to a therapist, you can write, you can paint, true. Whatever. And just for me, it was the easiest to make a game.
I see.
Like creating something that represents this emotion and then like getting it out like this.
I see.
Was very, very powerful for me. And it was very scary as well. Like the first, like any game where I feel like this is a very, very big part of me and this is something I feel strongly with. I would release it and I would be super scared. I would like, it would be done. The itch page would be up and I would like almost not dare to press on the button to publish it because it's like it's still this part of yourself, right? And the more emotional it is, the more the harder it is to get these things out there, and the scarier it is to share this with somebody. But you have to do it, and that's how you learn and how you actually connect with people. Like you can make the next boomer shooter that's just about shooting people, but you can also make something that connects with people in a deeper level and where they understand, like you have this mutual connection. Yeah.
I see.
Scary.
Thank you, by the way. Oh, there is a question, by the way. There is a question. There are two questions, actually. Thank you for those. Okay, Minnie says that she put the game Koira into her wish list. Thank you for that.
Nice, thanks.
Do you know? So the first question goes from Minnie. Do you know if there is a place where she can download the official soundtrack of the game to be able to listen to it, or will be any places to buy?
So we are thinking about adding it on the Steam page. Okay. Yes. So this is still in the talks. So if the game releases and I am wrong and it's not there, I'm sorry. But yes, we're thinking about adding this as an extra DLC, or I don't know how it comes on Steam, like an extra
add-on or something like purchase, that. Yeah. Thank you for the question and the answer as well. And yeah, Minnie says that. Let me translate it. Oh yeah, she says that she would be down to give this game or represent this game to a younger audience as well, in order to like develop their brain. And she's waiting for this game pretty much because she loves the concept and the idea of the game. Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you for that. Any other question? Bármilyen kérdés, hölgyek, urak? Bármilyen kérdés? Let us know. Any other question? Bármilyen kérdés? Speaking of the music, Minnie also wanted to ask the music part of the game. So could you talk about the official soundtrack part of the game a bit?
For sure.
Without
Yes.
spoilers, of course, again.
Yeah, without spoilers. I'll go back to the very start of the project because Ben, the founder of the studio, so he made this project with like how I told you, with the animations and putting them on a white background.
Okay.
But like very soon, the composer also came on the team, and so we
Okay.
had the composer basically the whole development long, almost the whole 4 years he was there, and so he was there from the start. And he would create this very beautiful orchestral music and sometimes very minimal piano, very minimal violin, or very big orchestral pieces. And from there, like we would also sometimes just listen to the music he created and be like, okay, what could be the gameplay scenario around this music? And if it's sad, you imagine something very sad that happens, or when it's happy, you think about like discovering the world, going through the forest, seeing all these magical things here and there. So the music played a very big part in the game, both its design, its conception, as well as just conveying the story, because there is no text, we have to use all the other parts of the game to convey what the story is, and one of these parts is the music. And so we had to put up this dynamic music system that would change throughout the level, that would be able to like change on different events or different emotions within the story. And it was both a challenge and something very rewarding to see come together. It's amazing.
I see. At the very beginning, by the way, of our interview, we also talked about the meaning of cozy games, and that I assume that sometimes people do not understand that building a cozy game is not just about having a cozy game, right? Do you think like it is a risky decision nowadays for video game developers to make a cozy game which has like a very deep and emotional story? How do you feel about it? Because I feel like some players are not very open-minded about this decision of the developers, right? But why? Why do they think like this? What could be their causing effect of thinking like this, that a cozy game have to be only cozy? Why people think like this?
Yeah, I don't think a cozy game only needs to be cozy, because
True, I agree.
Then you're stuck on like a flat emotional.
True. It's not going anywhere, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what you want is like you want changes in emotion. People are very
true.
like they're very sensitive to differences in anything. Like if you see a dark place with one light bulb, you'll directly be drawn to the light bulb. And the same is true for emotion. Like if you go from a happy emotion to a sad emotion, you'll feel this very strongly. And that's sometimes a problem that I notice with cozy games, where it's just cozy all the way, and then there's no emotional change. Now, maybe I'm just not the audience for that kind of game. It could also be the case. And then you just have to define like, what's my audience? Do I want them in what way do I cater to them? Depends on what your expectations are. Do you want to make money with your game? Then you need to make sure that the audience that you have will make the return on investment true. And if it's not making money, if it's just like conveying your emotions, then mostly focus on what kind of emotions you want to portray. But I think cozy game in general is a term that's getting more and more used, and it's almost overused, where a lot of games are games.
Yeah. Sadly, I would say.
Yeah, I would guess so. Like, it's like indie game. What's an indie game?
True. Yeah, very true. Thank you, by the way, for the question and answer as well. Any other question? Bármilyen más kérdés? Yeah, and it's very true. This topic is, I pretty much agree with you on that. That I feel like a lot of people for so many years had only been consuming only cozy games, and that's why they started to think that okay, they are boxing it to just cozy, right? And you cannot like have very sad moments. But now I'm seeing that a lot of developers like you guys as well are coming out with these very nice ideas to have really emotional sequences in their stories, and I love that because I feel like only cozy games are like very, how to say, they are good for calming down the nerves, for example, but they are not giving any sense of like real life attachments, right? So there is like no real message in very cozy games, like we talked about that, right? It could be that people would like to, for example, the creators would like to have this perfect universe, right? That could be the message, that they are dreaming of this perfect universe. And I'm not saying that cozy games are bad or anything. It's just I feel like I might be not the perfect audience too, because like I feel like sometimes I need some more of like, you know, sad moments or very happy moments combined together in order to have this, you know, weight on my shoulders to feel that I'm alive and I'm human, not just, you know, this dream world that we are imagining that to live in without problems, which is probably won't happen in so many years in the future, right? So it's nice to dream about it, but yeah.
That brings a lot of other questions
True,
up
true,
as well,
true.
right? Like what is a perfect world? Is the perfect world a world where you lay on a couch and get fed with a spoon, or
True. Like in the Disney movie. No, it was a Pixar movie, right? Wall-E. Wall-E was a Pixar movie.
only? Yeah.
Yeah. When people had everything but nothing. Yeah. True. Any other question, ladies and gentlemen? Any other question? Before I ask some closing questions, any other question? Bármilyen kérdés, hölgyek, urak? Bármilyen kérdés? Bármilyen kérdés, hölgyek, urak? Any other questions? And also, don't forget to wishlist Koira. Are you guys, by the way, planning to leave the demo on the Steam page of the game, or are you guys planning to like take it from the Steam?
The demo is gone. It's already gone.
Oh, it's gone. Okay. It was just for the Steam Next Fest. Okay.
Steam Next Fest was the last moment you could try out the demo.
Are you planning to re-add the demo to the Steam page, or no plans for that?
I don't know. That's a good question. We'll have to evaluate that later.
Okay.
Maybe.
I see. One of my closing questions would be, by the way, how difficult or easy was it to find the right publisher for publishing your game? If you can speak about this.
We were very lucky, and it was very easy. The thing is, in Brussels, there is this event for game developers, where they just rent out a big cinema, and game developers can show their game for 5 minutes on the big screen. Yeah.
Nice.
The rule is that you have to play and talk about the game at the same time. So you cannot just show a video; you have to play it for 5 minutes. And so it's a great event. All the game developers come together. People not in games come by to just check out what's happening in Brussels and in Belgium in general. And they do invite publishers there. And so Don't Not was there, and they were interested in Koira as a project. And the next day they got talking, and they were enthusiastic. So the ball got rolling, and after that, like a few months after, we got the funding, and the rest of the team got hired, including me. That's like after that is the point where I got hired. So for us, it was a unique case where it was very easy.
I see. Can you guys, by the way, imagine yourself in the future to work with the same publisher, or it's not the case for the future of your games?
For us, Donut was always very good as a publisher, so they helped out with a lot of feedback. Like every build we sent, they sent back a feedback for like 80 pages long, and then they didn't. They were all suggestions, so it was never like you have to do this, or else you don't.
They were more open-minded about it. I see.
They were very open-minded. The only thing where they were like you have to do this were bugs that were crashing or something like this, which are very understandable.
True.
While for game design, they gave a lot of tips and hints because they make their portfolio is very similar to what kind of game we make. So their feedback is very valuable, but they never told us that we had to do something.
I see. Speaking, by the way, about the topic of feedback, how do you guys deal with players' feedback on a daily level, even if it's positive or negative? How do you deal with it about your game core?
So we did a lot of feedback. So in Brussels, there's also a monthly event where you can show your game.
Okay.
And so we went a few times. We went a bunch of times there to show the game, let people play. We internally organized playtests with people that would come in, and then we would watch them play. We let our friends and family play. We let a lot of people play on different parts of the development, so that we had very real feedback instead of just like having somebody else on the team playing something. It's very, very different. So we took playtests very seriously, and that also means that you have to take the feedback very seriously.
I see.
Now, of course, the thing is with feedback, like it's not always the thing the player says is not always the thing you want to change. So you do have to do some post-processing.
It's like not solution for the problem or the issue, right?
Yes, exactly. It's like this famous problem with a racing game where the player said the cars are not fast enough, they have to go faster. And so instead of making the cars faster, they added motion blur on the side of the screen, and then people stopped saying the cars need to go faster. It was, yeah. So things like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true. I talked to the developer who said that like a lot of players who are complaining about video games or issues that they have with video games, it's good that they have complaints, but like they are not making it easier for the developers to solve those issues because they do not have the recipe for the problem, right? They just making these harsh opinions about problems, right? And it's very true. I agree with that. Like you would have to evolve these people of the way how they like express their feelings about games, because if you yell at the developer that hey your game sucks, it won't help, right? So it will never help. So that's why I believe that people should be educated how to form their opinion in order to have a connection between the developer and the player in order to help them, and not just yell at them that hey you shouldn't do this. No, okay, I shouldn't, but why, right? So what's the solution for it? So sit here and help me, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's also like I think in the team we also had to do some of this where this is more for an easier example to give, but like for technical things, often when people encounter a bug, they will be like, "There is a bug," or like, "There is a bug when I press this button." It's like, what is the bug? What did you expect? What like all this information is so important. They don't mention. They're just it's obvious, right? There is a bug, and
it's like yelling at your teammate that here there is an enemy, but where is the enemy, right?
Yeah, like this. And there was a lot of this, like getting a lot of the team. It was like the first game they ever made, so it was a lot of coaching. Like if you give feedback, if you give like bug reports, like mention what is happening, what you expect to happen, where like all these things.
True.
It's very important.
True, very true. Okay. Before I ask my closing question, by the way, is there anything that you would like to add to our conversation here? Because we talked about a lot of things about video games, about your personal work and life as well, personal experiences. Is there anything that you would like to mention or speak about before I ask the closing question?
I think maybe one last thing on like people starting on games or like feeling they're not good enough to do games. Like everyone can do games. It's super easy. TM. It's super easy in the way that you can make whatever you want, and you don't have to feel boxed in by the culture that's already there, or you don't have to know everything before you start on games. Like you can just mess around until you have something. That's how I make games too. Like I don't go in with the perfect ID and then work it out from there. Like you can have way more a free flowing process. just start doing the thing, and you'll find a way to get somewhere. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you for your honesty again about this topic as well. Thank you. So my closing question would be, by the way, you mentioned that you always loved to challenge yourself in your work when working on video games. What are your plans about challenging yourself in the future when you will work on video games as well? What challenges would you like to take?
Yeah. So my next challenges that I want to tackle are two things. One is procedural generation, because it's a huge topic. It's super complex, but it can add so much to a game where if you look at things like just any roguelike, or if you go to more complex games like Caves of Cut or Dwarf Fortress, these things are amazing storytelling devices.
True.
So I think I would like to do more research into procedural generation, and I am doing more research at the moment. So working on that. And the second thing is more multiplayer, because a lot of things come out of just playing together and like telling your story together. It could be even nothing like. There's so many games where people just mess around and they forget all about the actual intent of the game, but it's just this game has to be there as a kind of framework, setting the mood, setting the goal, setting the
fun factor in the game, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I think those two things are my challenges for the moment. Yeah.
Thank you, by the way, for everything that we out here, and for your honesty again about all the topics. I really appreciate it, and thank you for the questions from the chat as well, and for the answers to those questions. Again, everyone, don't forget to wishlist the game, be on the lookout for the game as well, and hopefully for other games from our friend here and his team as well. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you for inviting me on your podcast.
Thank you so much.
Great conversation.
Thank you. Like I said, I will need some more of your minutes off stream, but for those who are us with here or will be watching back the saved version on Twitch or on YouTube, thank you for being with us here. Sorry, I'm being rusty again. And yeah, have a great day or